Okay, good Motzei Tisha B'Av. Today's daf is Kuf Aleph 101. We pick up at the bottom of Kuf Hamad Bet, and we pick up with the following, about 5 lines from the bottom. Amrua Kamei de Rava. So the Gemara has introduced a debate of Rebbe and Reb Yossi about whether the Aninus is just that day or until Nikvar Hames. Rebbe said it's until Nikvar, which could have been a Kula, could have been a Chumrah. The Gemara reads it as a Chumrah until not only the day, but until the day of burial, not only the day of death, but the day of burial. And then the Gemara went further to say that what we really were debating was whether it applies at the night as well. That Rabbi Yossi said it just applies the day, and Rebbe said it applies even the night, even if it's just the day of burial, not the day of death. So now the Gemara says like this, 5 lines from the bottom. Amrua Kamei de Rava. So they said this one of Rava. Rabbi Yossi Kfur Tofes Leila Midrabanan. Since Rabbi Yossi is saying, I guess the way we're reading it, that Rabbi Yossi saying that Yom Kvura, that the night following Yom Kvura also has a status of Aninus. So Tofes, I'm sorry. Rabbi Yossi Kfur Tofes Leila Midrabanan Michlal Yomisa Tofes Leilo Midoraisa. So from there we can infer that, because presumably we wouldn't make the Durabanan Yom Kvura without Yom Misa is just a Durabanan. So if the Durabanan of Yom Kvura includes the night, presumably that's only because the Doraita of Yom Misa also would include the night following. Okay, so now the Gemara asks that. For Savar Rebbe Aninus Laila Doraisa. Now, does Rebbe really hold that Aninus Laila is Mina Torah? Because according to this, right, this would have Rebbe and Reb Yossi here saying essentially the same thing, right? So that would make you have them saying that if Yom Kvura includes the night Midrabanan, then and Yom Kvura itself is Durabanan and it's going to include the night, so Yom Misa must include the night Midoraisa. So is that really true that that's what Rebbe says? Vatani, we taught in the Brisa, Heina Yom, Aniya Yom Asr V'Layla Mutar. So now we're going to get into one of the whole bases for learning out that an onin is Asr in Korbanot, and that the discussion of whether it applies at night, which is the whole discussion by Aaron and the death of Nadav and Avihu, where Moshe tells him you should have, eaten the Chatat Hayom, and he says, if I would have eaten it today, Hayitav Beinei Hashem. So presumably one way to understand that is the reason Aaron didn't eat it is because he was an oning. So let's take a look. Hein Hayom, Ani Hayom Asr V'Layla Mutar. So the way it's being read is, today I was permitted, it was Hayom, I wasn't allowed to eat it because I was an oning. But at night, I would have been allowed to eat. Udoros, but in future generations, Bein b'yom, bein b'layla, asur divrei Rebbe Yehuda. Rebbe Yehuda would say that even night is forbidden. This we already know from earlier. The Rebbe Yehuda is of the position that the night of Aninus is Doraita. Maybe that wasn't true by Aaron, but in general, the night following the Aninus is Doraita. Rebbe Omer, now Rebbe says what we've known before that Rebbe Shimon said. We had this before in the discussion of eating the Korban Pesach if somebody was an owning that day. Aninus layla ein midivrei Torah midivrei sofrim. It's only rabbinic. So now we've got a problem. If Rebbe holds that the night, even by Yom Misa, is only Durabanan, so why by Yom Kvura would he also hold that it applies to the night? Okay, presumably, if even by Yom Misa, if in the Torah it is only the day itself, by Yom Misa, not the night, that's from the Torah law. So Midrabanan, when we say it also applies to Yom Kvura, we should pattern it after the Torah and say it's only the Yom Kvura, not the following night. So the Olam Drabanani, you know what? You're right. Fine, that it is true that the night following Yom Misa is Drabanan, and even though that's true, and even though Minat Torah, it's only the day and not the night. When we extend that from not only Yom Misa but to Yom Kvura, we're going to go even further than the Torah. For the Torah, it only applies to the day and not the night. We're going to add on the night for the Torah as Yom Misa. Now, when we're going to create a Yom Kvura, you could say, let's just make it just a Yom Kvura. Let's pattern it after the Torah. But no, we're going to go further. The Chamim, top of Kofal and Aleph, the Chamim asu chizuk lidivreim yosher mishel Torah. They made it even more than the Torah halacha. Fine. So that is this discussion about whether, two discussions. Number one is whether Yom Misa, which everybody says is Mina Torah, does it apply at night? And Rebbe Yehuda, it applies at night. According to Rebbe and Rebbe Yossi, it does not apply at night. And then there's a separate discussion, Yom Kvura, that isn't Yom Misa, that we all agree is Dorabanan. Are we going to extend that into the night as well? But now we're going to focus on the Doraisa and on Yom Misa and whether on the day of death does Aninus extend into the night. So now we have the following. Tana Rabbanana, rabbis taught, Kichein Tzuvesi, Kasher Tzivesi, Kasher Tziva Hashem. 3 times it says, as I have been commanded, when Moshe talks to Aaron, and you should have eaten these korbanot, even though it was the death of Nadav and Avihu. So what does each one of these Kichein Tzuvesi mean? Kichein Tzivesi Baninis Yochulu. So the first one was, you should have eaten it even though you were owning him. I told you that you were supposed to eat this even though Nadav and Avihu died. So why did you not eat it? Okay, I have commanded you to eat it even as owning him. Okay, Kichein Tzivesi Baninis Yochulu. Kasher Tzivesi, I've been commanded, B'shas Ma'aseh, at the time, okay? So he says that, so the way Rashi says, if you look at Rashi, so Rashi says, B'shas Ma'aseh, so, woman, Rashi says, 4 lines from the top, like this day was special. Here I'm telling you, you should eat it even though you're owning him. So this is sort of say, when he first gave it to them, he said, eat this, I've been commanded to tell you to eat this even though you are owning him. That's when after the death before, then he told them, go ahead and eat it anyway. And then he says, kasher tzivesi. When he found out they burned it, he says, you should have eaten it like I told you, like I had been commanded. And I told you were commanded to eat it even though you were going to be owning me. So I told you that, B'shas Maseh, why did you not do that? And then he said, as God had commanded, Lo me'elai ani omer. I didn't say it on my own. God had said it, reiterating that this was from God. So anyway, you should have eaten it when you were owning him. I told you that at the time. Why did you not do it? Okay. V'amini. Now, so here, he's saying you should have eaten it. I told you to eat it as owning him. So presumably the reason they didn't eat it must have been for some other reason, other than the fact that they were owning it. Now we're going to get to the question, why did they not eat it? Why did they burn it? Okay, so here the Breita says, so Aaron says to Moshe, Vatikreno si ka'ela. If a death like this had happened, you expect me to eat from it? So pointing to his dead sons, Nadav and Avihu, he's saying, I shouldn't have eaten from it. So he's saying, I didn't eat that, I wasn't owning. Now, how do you reconcile this? One Breita says Moshe explicitly told them, eat it, even though you're owning him. That's what God has told me. And then it says, the reason they didn't eat it was because they were owning him. Now, how can you reconcile this? So let's take a look. Amar Shmuel lo kasha, Reb Yehuda, Reb Nechemia. It's the debate of Reb Yehuda and Nechemia. The Tanya, B'nei Aninus nisrafua, sarfua, l'kach ne'emar ka'ela div Reb Nechemia. Reb Nechemia says they didn't eat it because they were owning him. So presumably Moshe had not given them explicit license to eat it as owning him. We'll see about that. But that's, at least right now, at the face of it, is against the idea that they ate it because that Moshe explicitly told them that they had license to eat it as owning him. No, he didn't tell them that, and they didn't eat it because they were owning him, and that's that. Reb Yehuda, Reb Shimon, Reb Yehuda and Reb Shimon, although we know they debate about whether Aninos Laila anyway, but they both say, no, he had license to eat it. That was Kichein Tzivesi. And why did they not eat it? That was for some completely different reason. It became Tameh, nothing having to do per se with the death of Aaron's children. So now let's take a look as we're going to play this out in the Psukim. Now, here's Reb Shimon's proof that it was because of something else like Tumah and not because of Aninos. If you say that they burned the chatos, but they didn't eat because of Aninos, so they should have burnt all 3 of the chataot. We're going to find out there were 3 chataot. One because it was Rosh Chodesh, it was Rosh Chodesh Nisan. One because it was the 8th day of the Miluim, and one because of Nachshon, the first day of the dedication of the Mishkan. Nachshon brought a korban, and it had a seir l'chata. So there were 3 chataot, but they only burnt one of them. Okay, so therefore they say, look, if it was Aninos, if it was something like Tumah, that could have happened to one and not the others. But if it was Aninos, that excludes them from all of them. So it couldn't have been Aninos, then they would have burnt all 3 of them, number 1. Number 2, Davar Acher, Hayuroi Lo Chol Ne'erev. If it was just an Aninos problem, they could have eaten it at night. Now, of course, Rashi points out that works better for Shimon, who says that Aninos Laila is not Mina Torah. So then, if it were aninus, they would have just eaten it that night. For Yehuda, that's not an aninus, and one of the reasons it couldn't have been aninus was because if we're aninus, just eat it at night. So I says, okay, look, even though Rabbi Yehuda normally holds, like we should have just alluded to this a second ago, even though Rabbi Yehuda normally holds aninus lilas doraita, he agrees that in this case they would have had an exception and they would have been allowed to eat it at night. But okay, so two reasons it couldn't have been aninus. Number one is if it was aninus, they shouldn't have burnt all three. Number two is if it was aninus, at least for Reb Shimon and maybe for Reb Yehuda, there would have been a special exception. They could have eaten it at night. That's number two. Davar acher, number three. Pinchas haya imahen. Hey, if it was just aninus, Pinchas wasn't an immediate relative, right? It was, it was Pinchas's uncle. So he wasn't an immediate relative. He wasn't an onain. So he could not even have were his uncles. He could have eaten it. So three reasons why it couldn't have been aninus. It must have been some special issue that became tamei, and that's why they burned it. Okay. So now Rava Amar. So according to that, the one that says it had a license to eat it because of aninus is cannot say that it was burnt because of aninus. So the position of Reb Nechemia that it was burnt because of aninus obviously understands that they didn't have a special license. Okay, that's one explanation. But now we're going to see there's another explanation. It could be they had a license and they burnt it because they were owning it. Let's take a look. Rava says, I divided Reb Nechemia. No, it could be Reb Nechemia. Reb Nechemia could hold both. They had a license to eat it as owning him, and they burnt it because they were owning him. Why? For Lokash, it's not difficult. Kan b'kache kal, kan b'kache dorot. It depends what korban you're talking about it, and this answers the first of the three questions. Why didn't they burn all three? Because the license to go ahead and eat it, even they were owning him, applied only to the things that were themselves exceptions. The special korbanot that were only brought for that period of time. What were those? The chatas of the miluim and the chatas of nachshon. But the third chatas of Rosh Chodesh, that was for all generations. So we're not going to make any special rules for that. We can make special rules for special korbanot. So now it all makes sense. They had a license to eat it, but they had a license to eat the special chatat. But they burnt the chatas of Rosh Chodesh because that they didn't have a license. And that's why it was because both kichein tzivesi that you could eat it as onanim, and it was burnt because of aninus, because they were talking about different korbanot. Okay, let's take a look. So now the Gemara says like this. How do they each approach, whether it's because of aninus they burnt it or whether it's because of tuma? How do they read the psukim? Here's how Reb Nechemia explains it. Why didn't you eat it? So now what we're going to do is we're going to explain what the story behind it must have been. So, and then we're going to hear that echoed and reflected in what the verses actually say. So Moshe said to Aaron, look, I'm trying to understand, Aaron. Help me out here. Like, why'd you burn? Maybe accidentally you brought the blood of this chatas into the inner sanctum, and then you have to burn the chatas. No, the blood wasn't brought inside. Okay, so Shema chutz mechitza, so yatsa. Okay, maybe the opposite. Maybe you brought it outside the Mishkan. Lo bakodesh. So Heinu havaz dama ela kodesh penima. So the Heinu havaz dama, it wasn't brought inside. Ela kodesh, it remained in the kodesh. So bakodesh haisa. V'dilma ba'ninus akmiv tuha upasal tuha. Maybe you brought it as an onin. Maybe your kids brought it, meaning forget eating it. If a korban is brought when the korban is an onin, it's pasol. Amar lo. So he said back to him, Moshe, v'chiheni krivu. Do you think my sons brought the korban after Nadvan Avihu died? Ani crafty. I was the one who brought it. Okay, so I brought it, and Kohen Gadol is Oved onin. So therefore, none of those are the reasons why it was burnt. So now we're going to see how that whole conversation they had beforehand is echoed and reflected, and now what Moshe says to Aaron. So Amalei, hey lahuvas tama. So listen, Aaron, based on what you just told me, number one, the blood wasn't brought inside. Number two, hey lahuvas tama ubakodesh haisa elakodesh penima, and you're telling me it remained in the kodesh. Okay, you should have eaten it as I commanded you. Eat it your own name, okay? As long as it wasn't nifsal, even though your own name, you should have eaten it. Now, by the way, what we didn't sort of say explicitly here, but the Aaron's response, they weren't makriv it, I was makriv it, was hein hayomi krivas korbanam that's sam lifnei Hashem. What, you think they brought the korban? They didn't bring it, I brought it. So we got now all of that back and forth in the psukim. I brought it. It remained in the kodesh. It didn't go into the kodesh. It didn't go, inside. It didn't go pnima. So all those reasons, it should be good. So Moshe said, great. It should have been good. Why'd you burn it? Okay. And don't tell me you were owning him. I told you were allowed to eat it as owning him. Amar lo. So Aaron said back, look, Moshe, I just suffered a death. You think I should have eaten the chatas, meaning I didn't eat it because I was an onen. So now we get to the loggerheads, right? Moshe said, I gave you license to eat it as an onen. And Aaron says, what? You think I'm going to eat it as an onen? So, and now here's why Aaron said, I didn't follow your heter. Shema lo shamata ela b'kache shah. Maybe when you had a special heter to eat it as onanim, it applied to the two chataot that were special for this time. The chatas of Nachshon and the chatas of the Miluim. Okay, but the ibikache doros, but as a general rule, an onain obviously can't eat a korban as a general rule. How do I know that? Kavachomimi meiser hakal. I can make a kavachov from meiser. Uma meiser hakal. Amrator lo achalti boni mimenu. By meiser, which is much less weightier than a korban, you say you didn't eat it as an onain. So bikache doros lo again. How much more so by a korban that has, that applies for all generations, should you not be able to eat it as an onain? So if you gave me a heter, I assumed that the heter was for the special korbanot that are only for this time, but for anything that's like part of a general process and a general rule and a general type of a korban, you would not make an exception. Obviously, their onanim are not allowed to eat. So that's why. So that answers one of the three questions. If it was onanim, why didn't they burn all three? Because he did two of them. He had a license for. But he said, I don't believe this license applies to the third one. It doesn't apply to the korban of Rosh Chodesh. Okay, so miyad vayishma Moshe vayitav beinav. Moshe heard and it was good in his eyes. Ho divelo bosh Moshe lomar lo shamati. He wasn't embarrassed to say that I didn't hear. Okay, and try to claim, oh, God never told me that. El Amar, you know what? Shamati v'shachachti. You're right, Taka. You did the right thing, and I got it mixed up. I forgot. The heter was only for the two korbanot, not the third one. You were right to burn the third one. That's the approach of Reb Nechemia. Now, we don't know how he answers the other two questions. Get Pinchas to eat it at night. We'll see about that. But anyway, now, Reb Yehuda, Reb Shimon, Hechim, Tartzi Luhu, how do they explain the psukim? Since for them it's about Tumah. So the Gemara says, Hachim Tartzi Luhu. Here's how they explain it. So it's going to be pretty much the exact same thing, except the upshot, the final answer is going to be different. Maybe you brought it into the Oamoed and therefore became nifsal. So Amarlo, Heinu Avastama, it wasn't brought inside. Fine, maybe it was brought outside the Mishkan. Amarlo Hein Bakodesh, I said it was in the Kodesh. Maybe you brought it as an onanim. Amarlo Moshe, Heini Krivua. Did they bring it? Heini Krivua, the Pasua, who Aninas, that Aninas would passel? No. Ani Kraftia, I'm the one who brought it. Okay, so now that far we got. Now Moshe goes on. The Dioma Agav Miri Raichu Pashutibahu, the Itmu. Maybe because you were so bitter and overwhelmed by your grief, you were negligent and it became Tamei. Moshe Kachani Beinecha. Is that what you see? How I'm seen in your eyes? Shani Mevazeh Kate Shamayim, that I would be denigrate, like not pay due respect to the korbanot. So even if tragedies beyond this occurred to me, I would not lose sight of the sanctity and of the protection of the korbanot. So as opposed to before, Vatikrenosi Ka'ela is, hey, it isn't about aninos. Here he's saying, hey, it isn't about tumah. In the end, it's a little ironic. In one case, he said, "Hey, it wasn't about tumah, aninos," but in the end, it wasn't. But in the first one, it was. Excuse me. The first one, it was. If this had occurred to me, should I be eating it? Meaning, it was because of aninos. Excuse me. So the first answer, because of this tragedy, that's why I didn't eat it, and that's the answer that it wasn't eaten because of aninos. This explanation that it wasn't eaten because of tumah is going to be a little ironic, because he's saying, even had terrible tragedies happen to me, I would not have let it become tameh. And that's my defense against saying that I ate it because it was tameh. In the end, we're going to find out it did become tameh, but not because of any negligence of Aaron. And it says, Moshe, it was not because we weren't careful. No matter what had happened to us, we would have been careful. Okay, so here's the V'tikrenos. Before the V'tikrenos Ka'ela was like, that's why I didn't eat it, because I'm an onain. Here V'tikrenos Ka'ela is, no matter what would have happened, I would have been careful. Amar lo, if it was not brought inside, Uba Kodesh Haisan, it remained in the Kodesh. You should have eaten it. Why did you not eat it? And I've told you you could eat it as onanim, and clearly they were prepared to eat it as onanim. This is the approach that they did eat it as onanim. So why didn't you eat it? Amar lo, I would say back to him, Shemelo Shamata Ela B'Layla. Dibiyom Kavachomim Meiser Hakal. Maybe when you gave us a heter to eat it as onanim, maybe that heter was only for night. Okay, but maybe in the day we shouldn't be eating it as onanim. Okay, so it's the same type of a dynamic, right? They're pushing back on Moshe. Of course, the answer is going to be, fine, why didn't you wait till night to eat it at night? We'll see about that in a minute. But here again, Moshe thinks there's a blanket heter to eat it as onanim. In the first version, they said only for the korban, for the Kachei Shan, not for the korban of Rosh Chodesh. Here they're saying there might have been a heter to eat as onanim. Maybe it applied to everything, but presumably we would have waited at least till night. Okay. Kodesh Chomer lo kosh came. Yad vayishma Moshe vayitav be'einav. Now, of course, this is still a little funny. Very nice. Okay, we get why you wanted to wait till night, but still doesn't explain why you burnt it. Okay, fine. So he says, you're right, Taka, I forgot. Now, according to this, it doesn't sound like it's Meituma. It sounds like they burnt it because they couldn't eat it during the day. They had to wait till night. Now, the Gemara, of course, asks the obvious follow-up question. What do you mean? Just wait till night. Okay, then they should have waited and eaten it at night, according to this. No, Tuma ba'onis basa. It wasn't because they were negligent. Now we introduced the Tuma. Okay, yes, you're right. Some accidental Tuma occurred, nothing they could have done anything about, and that's why they didn't eat it. And therefore, it was only one specific korban, not all three. Again, if it was the night issue, and for some reason that was an issue, whatever, it would have applied to everything. So the aninus here within Rebbe Yehuda and Rebbe Shimon is a completely bracketed point. Okay, you didn't even need that back and forth. Okay, but what it is sort of saying is that according to Rebbe Yehuda, that normally you weren't allowed to eat onain at night. Here they got a special license at night. They didn't want to interpret the license to be during the day. Fine, but anyway, what we basically have is the following. According to one version, they had according to both versions, they had a license to eat it as onain. According to one version, they pushed back and said, yes, but that didn't apply to the korban of Rosh Chodesh, and that's why we burnt the korban of Rosh Chodesh. And according to the other version, they said, fine, but we chose to understand that that would only allow us at night, not during the day. And by the time it took us to wait tonight, at least a tumah happened to one of the korbanot. And that's why it got burnt. Okay. Now, the Gemara says like this. According to the rabbis that say that they wanted to wait till night, that's why they said, the part of the back and forth, although not the full explanation why they burnt it, but part of the back and forth was we didn't want to eat it at the daytime. We wanted to wait till the night. What does he mean hayom? Chovas hayom. So it's very smart, very ingenious. It says, achalti chatat, not had I eaten the chatat today. Had I eaten chatas hayom. Had I eaten the day's chatas. The day's chatas means the regular chatas of the day, the chatas of Rosh Chodesh. It's the day's chatas, the Rosh Chodesh chatas, that I'm not allowed to eat because of an onanim. Okay, so according to one, the pushback was we can't be eating it as onanim in the day. We have to wait till the night. Okay, at least even if there's a heter, the heter should only wait till the night. And the other explanation was I can't eat the chatas hayom. I can't eat the heter doesn't apply to the regular chatas of the day. Now, so according to Reb Nechem, you understand what it means. Hein hayom, okay, because that's the same point. This is the korban of the day. That's why we're not doing it. But for the rabbis, what's the underscoring of hein hayom? So hachikamer, heini krivu. So it's like we said before. Heini krivu hayom is chatasam, not hein hayom, the korban of the day. No, did they do it? If they did it as onanim, they would have invalidated it. No, ani crafty, I'm the one who did it. Fine. Okay, great. So we have the whole back and forth. The Heinu Vastama, it wasn't brought inside. El Kodesh, it wasn't brought outside. Heinayom, do you think they're the ones who were makrivit? I was makrivit. It wasn't nifsal as an onain because I was makrivit. So knew why was it burnt? So either because of aninus and it's chatat hayom, the chatas of the day. That is aninus. That the special heter does not override. That I couldn't eat because of aninus. Or it's hayom. We had to wait till the night, and by the time we waited till the night, it became tamei. Okay. Amar hayul shloshen yisrafua. They should have burnt all three of them. Okay, this is their pushback to Reb Nechemia. We already have an answer because they only burnt the one that was the regular chatas. But anyway, this was their pushback. Okay, my shloshim, what three? Titania. We taught in Brisa. Right? The seir chatas derosh darash Moshe. The seir of the chatat Moshe searched out to find out. Seir zu seir nachshon. Okay, that's the seir of Nachshon because he was the first of the Nisi'im to dedicate. Chatat, zu chatat shmini. That's the chatas of the 8th of the Miluim. Darosh, ze seir shalosh chodesh. Okay, so there are three seiri. Yachol shlosha nisrafu. Maybe all three were burnt. Tamar lamar vinei soraf. Echad nisraf. It was burnt. Below shlosha nisrafu. And now we find out why was it only one? Either because it was tuman and only happened to one, or because of the aninos where the heter didn't apply to the Rosh Chodesh. Now, to Rosh Tarash, stay drishot, two explorations. Number one, stay drishot lama. Why would he look? What were the two things he was inquiring about? Question number one: why did you burn this one? That's obviously the focus. Number two is why did you wait for the other two? Why didn't you eat them now? Why are you waiting till night? And that's what we sort of said according to the approach that they said, we get that there was a heter for aninos, but we wanted to wait till night. So now he has two questions. Why do you burn one and why do you wait for night for the other two? And the answer is one becomes tamei and the other because the heter of aninos we are going to assume does not apply during the day. Now, any Yudea Ezehu. Now he says, I don't know which one is the one that was burnt. This chatas was given to you for you to carry the sin of the people. Have you omer zeh seir Rosh Chodesh? That's seir Rosh Chodesh because seir Rosh Chodesh it says that it's lachata laHashem. Okay. Now shaper kamilei Reb Nechemia. Shaper kamilei. Now the Gemara says they actually challenged Reb Nechemia well. Okay. Why weren't all three of them burnt? So now, if it was aninos, now we already know the answer to that. Reb Nechemia l'taimei damar kachay shalo pasla b'hu aninos. No, he says two of them it wasn't a problem with the one that were kachay shah. So that's his answer. Yes, it was aninos, and only one, only the Rosh Chodesh. Okay, but now we have two other questions for Reb Nechemia. Why not wait till night? And why not Pinchas? Amar Mars. Let's take a look. Why not wait till night if it was just aninos? Shapir kamilei. So that's a good challenge. Because Savra aninos laila d'oraita. No, because Reb Nechemia holds aninos laila is d'oraita. That's a very easy answer. So does Reb Yehuda. Okay, so Reb Nechemia holds it was a total heter, but it only applied to the korban of to the kachay shah. Okay, so that's why they couldn't wait till night for the Rosh Chodesh there was no heter at all, and night was still asr. So for him, aninos applies day and night, and since the heter didn't apply to Rosh Chodesh, they had to burn the Rosh Chodesh. Okay, so that's why he says they didn't wait till night, and that's why it was only one of the three. Now we're going to have another one. Where were we? Okay, so Zaninos just get Pinchas to eat it. So now we're going to have an interesting discussion about Pinchas' status as a Kohen. Shapir Kamile, that's a good challenge. Savarla, Rebbe Eliezer, he was like Rebbe Eliezer, Damar Rebbe Eliezer, Rebbe Chanina, Lonis Kain Pinchas, Ache Hargo Zimri. Pinchas was not a Kohen until he killed Zimri. Now that's very bizarre. He's obviously a direct descendant of Aaron. But since the Torah only says that who became anointed as Kohanim, it says Aaron, Elazar, Tamar, Nadav, and Avihu. Now, but if Pinchas was already born to Elazar, so when his father became a Kohen, well, he wasn't becoming a Kohen, and he wasn't a Kohen by birth. Okay, any children that Aaron's kids would have had afterwards would have been Kohanim because they would have been born to Kohanim. But Pinchas was already born, and his father became a Kohen, and he didn't become a Kohen. So he only became a Kohen at the story of Zimri. Okay, and therefore, when Nadav and Avihu died, he could not have been eating from the korbanot. So now we got the idea that it was aninos. Moshe said you should have eaten it. I gave you a heter. They said that heter only applied to Kedushay Shot, didn't apply to the Rosh Chodesh. Why didn't you wait till night? Sorry, Moshe. Aninos applies at night as well. That wouldn't be explained, but anyway, okay, it's a position aninos applies at night. Why did Pinchas eat it? Pinchas wasn't a Kohen. Kasavar, okay. Where were we? Until he killed Zimri. So what is this brit kunat olam that God gives him? So according to this, God made him a Kohen. Before that, he wasn't a Kohen. Ravashi Amar Achesam Shalom Bain Shvatim. No, Pinchas, even surprisingly, even later did not. Also, because part of the whole question is how did Pinchas kill Zimri? He was a Kohen. He wasn't allowed to become Tameh. According to this, that wasn't a problem yet. But anyway, so Pinchas, even though he got this Brit Kunat Olam, he didn't really become a Kohen until much later in his career, not through this act of violence, right? It's very nice, B'ti Shalom, after this act of violence. But at the end of his career, when he's the sort of warrior turned diplomat, and he goes makes peace with Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain when there's about to be a civil war because the other tribes think Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain are about to break off. This is after they go into the land and whatever, and so on. And they think that and they want to go against them in civil war. And they send Pinchas on a diplomatic mission, and Pinchas makes peace. So that's a real fulfillment of the Brit Kunat Olam. It's starting with violence and ending with Shalom. Anyway, so this says that's when he became a Kohen, not when he showed his violent, zealous side, but when he showed his peace-loving side. Okay. Shalom ben Ashvatim. Shenemar v'yishma Pinchas haKohen v'nisiyei Haidav Rashi Alfei Yisrael. They heard this about what happened, and then they went there, and they made peace, and they did a diplomatic mission. So the point is that here it actually identifies him as Pinchas haKohen. Before this, it always is Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron haKohen. It doesn't have the Kohen referring to Pinchas. Here it has the Kohen referring to Pinchas. The Idach Nami Haksiv Aisalo Zaro Harav. 1 minute. But doesn't it say Brit Kunat Olam way back in the Zimri story? No. Kiksivahu bebracha hu dichsi. That's a blessing that it will be a Brit Kunat Olam, but it was only fulfilled at this story much later, at the time when they made, when they were in the land and they made peace. The Idach Nami Haksiv Aishma Pinchas HaKohen. Why does it call him HaKohen? Why does it directly identify the Kuna with him only here? It says, Hahu Yachei Sarach, to give him a yichus. What's the point of the yichus? So Rashi says it's primarily to indicate that the Kohanim Gedolim are now going to descend from Pinchas. Okay. Amar Rav. Now that we're discussing this issue about Nadav and Avihu and Pinchas and so on, okay, let's take a look, and this whole Aninos question also, and who else could have eaten from the Korbanot. We're going to bring in the Moshe. Amar Rav. Moshe Rabbeinu Kohen Gadol. Moshe Rabbeinu was a Kohen Gadol. He served during the period of the Miluim, so he presumably retained the status of Kohen. I don't know why Kohen Gadol, but anyway, maybe because he could also go into the Kodesh Kodashim. Anyway, Moshe was also a Kohen. The Cholek v'Kodesh Shamayim, and he would get a Chelek in all the Korbanot. Haya shenemar Ela Miluim leMoshe haya lemana. Okay, so this from the El Miluim Moshe had a portion, and it's reading this not just that one Korban during the Miluim period, but that he had the status now of a Kohen. Pretty wild. Meisve, I'll ask you, Valo Pinchas hayimahem. The challenge was to, how can you say it was Aninos? What about Pinchas? And the answer was that Pinchas wasn't a Kohen. According to you, how can you say it was Aninos? Moshe could have eaten some of it. Okay, so there was somebody to eat the Korban. So the Imiso Lema Valo Moshe Rabbeinu hayimahem. He says, no, Dil Mashani Moshe Detar B'Shechina. No. Even if Moshe was a Kohen, they could not have said, hey, we're all owning him, but don't worry, we don't have to burn the meat. We'll get Moshe to eat the meat because he's not an owning. No, because Moshe would have been way too busy. So since they were owning him and Moshe was way too busy, they had to burn the meat. Why was Moshe way too busy? Because he was spending all his time with God. Moshe he went up at first thing in the morning to Har Sinai, went down first thing in the morning. Now that was Har Sinai. It was after at least that immediate event. But nevertheless, he was totally busy with God. They could not have held the meat for Moshe to eat. Meisve. Okay, that's why we brought in the story of Moshe, but now we're going to challenge it. Okay, so this is Baal Mum. Baal Mum can eat from the Kodesh Kodashim and from the Kachim Kalim. He just can't bring the Korban. So now the Braita says the following. I mean, why does it have to say that a Baal Mum can eat both from Kachim Kalim and Kachim Kachim? I mean, just say Kachim Kachim. Kachim Kalim should be obvious. So it says like this. He had just not said Kachim Kalim. You talk about Kachim Kachim, who the Achil. Fine. I get that a Baal Mum can eat from Kachim Kachim. Why? There was a non-Kohen that was allowed to eat Kachim Kachim. What non-Kohen was allowed to eat Kachim Kachim? The only one could have been Moshe during the period of the Miluim. Okay? So that shows that Moshe was a Zar. He wasn't a Kohen. Okay? Hutul Zar. Vilahen. And therefore, that's why it's permitted also to the Baal Mum. Kachim Kalim lo yochlu, but not Kachim Kalim. Lo nemer Kachim Kachim. That's why it had to say kachim kalim, because I would have thought kachim we know we're allowed to a non-kohen, Moshe. Kachim kalim, Moshe never ate kachim kalim as a kohen. Kachim kalim, the shlamim, the meat of the shlamim that the owners eat. Okay, obviously that in fact can eat, but the meat of the kachim kalim that only the kohanim eat, that's the question. So Moshe never ate the meat of the kachim kalim that only kohanim eat, even though he ate the sort of something from the shlamim. It was a shlamim tzibur, which was kachim. Anyway, Moshe only ate from kachim. So had it just said the Baal Mum eats from kachim, fine, because Moshe eats from kachim, a non-kohen, but kachim kalim, the kohen's part of kachim kalim, maybe not. The ilu never kachim kalim, and if it just said kachim kalim, never kachim, kachim kalim, fine. If it just said kachim kalim, I say fine. Baal Mum can eat kachim kalim, kalim, but they're kal. But kachim kalim lo yeyochel, but not kachim, which are weightier. L'kach never kachim, l'kach never kachim kalim. That's why I had to say both. Fine. Okay, obviously, if it just said kachim kalim, you had to also say kachim. That's clear. But the point is that if it said kachim, I wouldn't have limited it to that because we know that a czar eats from it. So that makes it pretty clear that Moshe was a czar. Lav Moshe. Doesn't this mean Moshe, that Moshe was a czar, not a kohen? So Amar Rav Sheshes lo bibama l'zar. No, we mean that it was brought at a bama, and that was eaten by a czar. Omer yesh mincha bibama. And like the one who says that there's a mincha at a bama. Now, what does that mean? Why do you have to say a mincha at a bama? Because what are the kachim? So the normal kachim is ola. Well, nobody's eating an ola. Chatas and an asham. But chatas and asham are obligations. Those you don't bring at a bama. So where would you ever get kachim that a czar could eat at a bama? So the only kachim would be a mincha. Mincha is something that normally is only eaten by the mea kohanim in the Beit HaMikdash. If that's brought in a bama, you can understand why that could be brought, because that's an adava, it's free will. And then it would be eaten by a non-kohen, because that would be the halacha of bama. So that's how you would have kachim eaten at a bama, okay? But not the kohen's portion of kachim kalim, because there is no kohen's portion of kachim kalim. So therefore, we're using the example of bama, not the example of Moshe. So I just say kachim, I would have said there you have a czar eating kachim, but you never have a czar eating the kohen's portion of the kachim kalim. And that's why I had to say both. Okay. And we will pick up with this tomorrow or whatever on Tuesday to continue this question of whether Moshe was a Kohen or not a Kohen.